recording. So we are live. We are live on the 28th of December, almost at the end of 2021, which has been quite a grueling year for many. Hoping for better things in 2022, which is hopefully, again, what we'll speak about today. So welcome, everybody. We've got people dialing in as we speak on the John Lavinia Success Mastermind Christmas end of year show, just building up to the new year excitement. And Gail's dialed in, Daisy, and I've been having a lovely chat with Bob and Missy. We've compared notes on everything from history to British comedy and the civil service. Believe it or not, we covered a lot of ground. And it was very entertaining. I'm hoping John's move is going well. We haven't had any news yet, but hopefully the trailers have parked up and he's moved into hotter and sunnier climes in Florida.
He was mad yesterday. He was stuck in the fog in Texas.
Was he? No, I don't believe it.
Yes,
there you go. There you go. Well, I shall fire away. We'll see who dials in. So I was talking a lot to people over Christmas, and I was particularly struck by an image, well, a couple of images actually given to me by a friend who was talking about trying to build his own dream home. And he told me of someone he knew who had actually gone out and acquired a piece of land after a lot of effort, but had then not focused on priorities and had actually fallen into bad habits rather than developing good ones. And as a result, many years later, my friend, had gone back to this piece of land, and all there was to see was a set of unfinished foundations of someone's dream house, which was standing on that land all those years later, as a witness, if you like, to a lack of commitment, a lack of energy, a lack of integrity, whatever you care to call it. But he also then gave me the contrasting example of another friend of his who had acquired a piece of land and then single-mindedly built his dream house one block at a time. And what he had done, apparently, is that every time he managed to earn a little bit of spare cash, he'd gone out and bought some blocks with whatever he had and added those to the wall. So gradually he built this house, and in this way it took many years, but there it was, and the house is there now for everybody to see. So this really happened. These are two true stories that were given to me over Christmas. Welcome, Edward. Good to see Edward. So one block at a time. You know, it's so beautiful to think of that. It can be done. It's that easy, really, if we keep going and we're consistent. And it's the same with our minds and our ideas and our dreams. We can do the same with those and build one small block at a time. There are not things really, these things are not built in all conquering grand sweeps of progress generally. That can happen, but it doesn't tend to happen in everyday life. We just build things one block at a time. And that's all we need to bear in mind. And if we think of that every day, suddenly that dream house is there for everybody to see, built of our ideas. And that brought me very much to mind of Wayne Bradford's talks in the group last year. Some of the newer members of the group may not have seen those, but Wayne held a series of sessions called Metaphors for Success, which are in the library and were beautiful narrations based around metaphors from everyday life, one of which was based around construction, well worth having a look at. Anyway, he talked about these construction metaphors at some length, and it drew me back, thinking of those, to the wonderful lessons from construction, that deliberate building from the ground up, from the foundations, strong foundations, and then secure roofs. And I fell upon a poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who wrote the most marvelous description of this. And if you can bear with me, I'd like to read the whole thing out. It's not too long, so hopefully you won't fall off your chairs, but just bear with me for a second. He said, "All are architects of fate, working in these walls of time, some with massive deeds and great, some with ornaments of rhyme. Nothing useless is or low, each thing in its place is best, and what seems but idle show strengthens and supports the rest. For the structure that we raise, time is with materials filled, our todays and yesterdays are the blocks with which we build. Truly shape and fashion these, leave no yawning gaps between. Think not because no man sees, such things will remain unseen. In the elder days of art, builders wrought with greatest care, each minute and unseen part, for the gods see everywhere. Let us do our work as well, both the unseen and the seen, make the house where gods may dwell, beautiful, entire, and clean. Else our lives are incomplete, standing in these walls of time, broken stairways where the feet stumble as they seek to climb. Build today then, strong and sure, with a firm and ample base, and ascending and secure shall tomorrow find its place. Thus alone can we attain to those turrets where the eye sees the world as one vast plain and one boundless reach of sky. Now that struck me as utterly beautiful and apposite and a great summary of what we've been talking about for many, many days, and certainly brings me full circle back to construction and all those wonderful images of building and security and staircases and rising up. And I also love that story I was told about the man who built block by block as compared to the man who fell into bad habits and hadn't managed the personal discipline, and all you could see years later was his foundations in place. It reminded me, as did those words of Longfellow's, of many, many, many things. I've tried to solve a lot of these problems too, as I'm sure we all have, and I've built many unfinished foundations on many untended building plots, and I've left many derelict buildings in my mind, for sure, standing in my mind, still there. And it's so easy to go down those roads. But how can we avoid that? How can we avoid that disappointment of no building, bad quality building, unplanned and chaotic building, unstable building, building even in the wrong place, building for the wrong reasons, or garish and showy building for no particular purpose, for image and not for function? I thought a lot about this. I think one thing is absolutely certain, and that all of this has to come from us. The answers must come from us. They're inside us and they're controlled by us. And acknowledging that it's us in control is the first block in our new wall that we're going to build for ourselves. Those answers inside us. And I'm going to make a note to self. First note to self. Thank you for helping me with the challenges of 2021 and give me the strength to motivate myself in 2022 and to measure my progress every day, just as that man put a block in the wall every day. Second note to self. I must finish each day the wall I started building in the morning, because if I don't, there's going to be frustration in the evening and the next day and the next day and so on. And then all I will see is unfinished foundations again. So finish everything on the action list every day is my message to myself. Otherwise, a mountain of those tasks or blocks will just build up, and it's stifling. And eventually it nullifies all of our positivity and all of our effort. It just completely negates what we're trying to do. Get the bricks in the wall. In other words, they are not just, as Pink Floyd put it, another brick in the wall. Each one really does count, and placing it in that wall is incredibly liberating. Third note to self. I need to gauge better how many tasks I can actually complete in the day and how many blocks I can get in that wall in a day. Creating overload leads to overwhelm. I can simply try to do too many tasks in a day, either do them badly or not get to them. That is frustrating and overwhelming, and it's just going to break the axle on the construction truck as I overload it. That's not going to help me either. So my fourth note to self then was, it seems better to make an action plan and task list the night before, always the night before. Getting up and trying to do that in the morning with all the stresses piling in and crowding round us from the night, and the realization of the morning and what we have to do is too much. In that way, doing this at night, I can get better perspective on tomorrow, and I'm more relaxed and more able to think about how much I can achieve tomorrow. And what is more, I know I'm going to hit the ground running the next morning. Instead of having to think it all through, I'm just going to get on with it in my miracle morning. And many of us have tried to build miracle mornings. The first moment my foot touches the ground as I get out of bed, I know what I've got to do. And that's a much better place to be. I just don't do that enough, and I need to do it more. Get our list together in the morning. That was fourth note to self. And then, you know, it's true that it's the simple things that really count. It's the basics, the simple things. Going back to our construction imagery, it's how we mix the cement, using the right sand, taking care over every joint. It really, really does matter. Every single simple thing we do does change the end result and builds into that house and that finished result. So That may just result in a better product, a better customer experience in our business endeavors, or as Longfellow said, and I'll read it out again, nothing useless is or low. Each thing in its place is best, and what seems but idle show strengthens and supports the rest. And so it does. So it does. Some of these things seem insignificant. I've mentioned before colleagues that I've had, one of whom, for example, insisted that every postage stamp on every letter to a client was perfectly aligned, because he knew that that would be their first impression on receiving our communication, seeing the symmetrical letter beautifully laid out. And it really mattered to him. And actually, these things do create impressions we're not even aware of. How we turn up, how we present ourselves, how we appear, and how we treat the client. It all makes a very big difference. And also, I think we can develop very good daily habits and just buy one brick towards success every day. And a few things to note on that. Building success and successful outcomes is better done when we're fresh. That's certainly the case in my case. We've just got more energy, we have clearer minds, and we can create routines to help us to do them. Like I've talked about this a few times. We actually have to endeavor to create a routine that really gives us a chance of succeeding, rather than doing things the other way around, when we cram into the routine we just have hanging around our shoulders what we can. You've got to purpose design your success routine. It takes change, it takes analysis and saying, what are the priorities? What are these things I have to do? When am I most effective doing them? And how am I going to get to them? Because the risk is they get shoved into available spaces and never given the proper attention they require. And then suddenly we're not getting forward every day or every week or every month. It's so easy to fall into that. So it really is looking at the time you're best in the day, which in many people's cases is the morning, when we have a lot more motive force. We can create that little extra slot maybe to give us our success time that we spend on ourselves and our dreams. And the other thing that's always struck me is that I know a lot of people who sit around for the phone to ring. They just wait for the phone to ring. We can avoid that. We can be self-motivated, and that is absolutely key. The success that we all wish for doesn't usually come from waiting for someone else to give it to us. You have to seize it. If we wait for someone to give us success, there are very few people I know that want to give that to you and have care enough about you to help you to get success. You have to decide to do it for yourself and kindle what I would call our own personal vital spark. And that vital spark is the difference between creators and just passive followers who just wait for something to happen. So fifth note to self, do something creative every day and strike the flint in my mind and light a fire with it every day in my mind. Strike that flint. Sixth note to self on a related issue, read everything, every article, every quote, every explanation, every book that I can. Ideas are grown in fertile ground. If we try and plant these successful ideas that we have now in barren ground, they just won't grow in the same way, or maybe not at all. Buildings are built on strong foundations too, as crops grow in fertile ground. We need to cultivate that ground. We need to build those foundations so that when the right idea hits us and the situation is presented to us, we're ready to take it. We're ready to act because we already have our skills honed and we already have our knowledge loosely around us that we can draw upon. That again is the thing that makes the difference between someone that's ready and someone that isn't, because when that opportunity comes, quite often it's only once and you have to seize it with full force and energy. It may not come back a second time. So these hours we spend apparently pointlessly researching and learning are actually crucial, because it means we're ready when something happens and something presents itself in front of us. We can seize it and we're ready to seize it. Another thing that's important too, we have to take care of ourselves. That's not just cutting ourselves some slack and not criticizing ourselves. It actually deals with tiredness, lethargy, lack of energy. Those are our enemies. We're hardly going to feel like leaping about, becoming creative, pushing through barriers if we feel dreadful. We have to sleep, rest, exercise. Otherwise, building something is really, really hard. And for me, sleep, for example, is the bridge to creation, as I'll call it. It allows me to bridge the divide and to create, because I have the energy and the motive force and the passion to do it. And without that sleep, I can only do that if adrenaline is pumping so hard that I can overcome the barriers. But we don't always need to be in a state of permanent adrenaline, and we can't be. So it's better to be rested and well if we can be. That gives ourselves a massive opportunity and a massive boost at the start of the 100 meters race to finish it well. I always think again about that image I gave of the person starting at the start line of the 100 meters race. The moment that starting pistol goes off in the Olympic 100 meters, they're not standing there contemplating what they're going to do next. They just go, because all the preparation and the energy has been built before that. They are coiled springs and they release themselves. The moment, the split second in infinity, that gun goes off, they go. You will never see them standing there looking at each other thinking what happens next. It just doesn't happen. And that is us. We are ready. We have to be ready to sprint straight for the line when we see the opportunity, and do everything in terms of health and learning that we can to give ourselves the opportunity of winning that race and getting to the tape. Now, it all perhaps sounds very obvious, but I'm going to make 7th note to self. Don't forget my daily health. It's built molecule by molecule, and we are and we wear what we eat. And our rest is our fuel. And I never let myself forget that, because these things catch up with us and they impinge upon our opportunities and our success, I'm afraid. So what about you? Let's hear from you in a second. Are you going to make any changes in 2022? Have you planned those? Are you focusing on any new techniques and approaches, all of you? Can we build those new houses one brick at a time? And remembering again, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's words that I read earlier, build today, then strong and sure, with a firm and ample base, and ascending and secure shall tomorrow find its place. I absolutely love that. So those words from Longfellow, which I recommend to everybody, I'll open the floor, see if anyone has any thoughts about 2022 and getting forward and the success we're going to enjoy next year. Who would like to make any comments? Please open the mics and have a chat. We're all looking pensive. No one's going to open up the batting here, as we say in the UK.
I'll jump in.
Bob, that's great. Thanks,
Okay.
Bob.
Rather than answer your question directly, I think I'll just reinforce what you and Longfellow said by quoting another poem. It's short, it's a sonnet, it's a perfect Petrarchan sonnet for those of you who are of a literary bent. And it's written by John James Ingalls, who lived from 1833 to 1900. He is a very dear chap to me because he and I share one thing in common. We hail from the great American state of Kansas. And Ingalls was a statesman in the era when there were statesmen and not politicians. He was a representative and a senator from the state of Kansas in the 19th century, rose to certain prominent positions in the Senate, but he also had time to write this wonderful poem called Opportunity. And when you mentioned the word opportunity, Adrian, this is what immediately stepped into my mind. And fortunately, I had a copy right here. Master of human destinies am I, fame, love, and fortune on my footsteps wait. Cities and fields I walk, I penetrate deserts and seas remote, and passing by hovel and mart and palace, soon or late, I knock, unbidden, once at every gate. If sleeping wake, if feasting rise, before I turn away, it is the hour of fate, and they who follow me reach every state mortals desire, and conquer every foe save death. But those who hesitate, condemned to failure, penury, and woe, seek me in vain, and uselessly implore. I answer not, and I return no more. So my resolution for this coming year, in addition to putting into practice the very concrete things that you and Longfellow mentioned, is to try to recognize opportunities and try to recognize opportunities where they don't seem to be. In some of the stanzas that you quoted, Longfellow effectively said, nothing really is wasted. everything, whether, it seems to be a setback. Nothing is ever wasted if you know how to turn it to good use. So for me, therefore, 2022 is going to start off with a more positive and creative mindset. And I would hope develop a keen eye for recognizing opportunities that lay where you don't seem to think they lay.
Well, wonderful. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And there's a funny thing about this. The more we study and learn and develop ourselves in our chosen area, the readier we are to recognize opportunity when it does come along. We're just more attuned. We're looking out for things that we're more alert to because they're in our area of focus. And if we're not ready, we just don't see things in the same way. We ignore the opportunity because it doesn't strike us the way it should. So I've found that many, many times. If we are very clear on our goal and our area, then things begin to strike us. We notice things. It's that power of observation that's developed as well. And that's the unexpected result of all the preparation. You just are like a super receiver. And I think Napoleon Hill talks about this idea of transmitter and receiver. You become a super receiver, super sensitive to the relevant radio waves, and suddenly they all make sense. So I love that, Bob. Absolutely love that. And I shall go and look that up for sure, that beautiful poem. But it's very, very true. We don't get a second chance. I think people hesitate and think, oh yeah, I'm not quite ready. I'll be readier next time, but that next time may never come. And we'll never be ready. We will never be ready. As the quote said, there's no such thing as bad weather, only the wrong clothes. And it's so true, because we can always think we'll be better dressed for the next opportunity, but we never will be. We just have to go out there in that weather and get on with it. And then we'll get by and we'll learn on the job and we'll be better next time. But if we don't take that chance, it just doesn't happen. It's a funny thing, that. But if we don't put ourselves under pressure and make a leap of faith, we don't leap very far. We tend to stay where we are. So I absolutely agree with that, Bob. And I'm glad you're going to seize opportunities, because you've got so much potential. And I can tell just by talking to you that you're an interesting person. And I wonder how much of it you've offered to people so far. That's my question to you.
Is that merely rhetorical, or do you expect an answer?
Well, you can take it rhetorically if you want to. You don't have to answer that, but I am wondering whether you've put yourself out there enough, because I think you have a lot to say. We know that Missy does, because she said some wonderful things already and given us some wonderful mini talks as part of her answers to topics, but we haven't heard enough from you yet, Bob, that's for sure. Yeah. Anyway, it's great to have you there, and it's great to see everyone else here. Everyone's very quiet today. Perhaps they've had too much Christmas champagne, or other factors are playing a part. Could be a very short session, I think, but which is not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. I wanted to send everybody off in positive frame of mind. Bob, did you want to add something?
Well, now, if you want
Missy.
to send everybody off in a positive frame of mind, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm sitting here calmly smiling. I'm taking it all in, and it's very positive. It's wonderful. But I'm thinking of people maybe watching on YouTube who aren't in the mastermind group, who maybe don't have people around them. Now, in the last few days, I completely went bananas. I lost myself. A website that I began to help myself live again, because my physiology is not corrected, let's put it that way. And I really don't sleep and can't eat. I've lost 50 pounds, but I am going on adrenaline, but that's fine for now. But the point is, they've been holding the website hostage, and it doesn't really matter what the detail is. The point of the story is that I allowed myself to go bonkers, to go away from what I knew, to refuse, because just in the morning on general session, I said, I am choosing every minute to choose happiness. That is my choice for the day. And I went so far afield that I literally didn't even know myself. And I am ashamed that I did that. But some of it I can blame on physiology and exhaustion, but not all of it, because my mindset has changed. And that will eventually change my physiology, because I am working on that through the subconscious to change it. And there have been changes, and even the doctor has noticed. And but I want people hearing this who may be going through something similar to not give up, because I haven't given up just because I went berserk. Some of that is Italian temperament. Some of it is just a trigger, and letting old mindsets take over. So regardless of that happening, I am carrying on. I may have knocked out a few bricks in the building, but I'm putting them back. I'm going to put new ones on top of it. So you mustn't give up, no matter how badly you fail or fall down. You just get up. And I was my own tornado. These people triggered me, and the old me who's I don't know if it's still dominant, but it's still very strong in my life, because I am, I'm fairly new to this group since June. So don't give up. Just keep putting the bricks on is basically what I wanted to say. And that's all you have to do, basically.
I agree, Missy, and that's, it's great to hear you saying that and explaining that to people. It reminds us again that our ideas have got to be so clear, in our dreams, in our mind, that they are a beacon, because those ideas matter more than our current feelings to us, and we've got to recognize that they do and keep telling ourselves why we're doing it. Current feelings and daily problems will always crowd in, but if we've got a very clear focus on what we call those burning desires, that just keeps us going no matter what. And it reminds me of learning to fly, which I did many years ago, and being on a solo cross country in the dark one night in my training, and the weather went very bad. And all I could see way off was one flame from a factory chimney that got me back to that airfield. Otherwise, I would not have made it. And it's the same thing. That burning flame from that factory chimney is there in our mind's eye. And no matter how bad we're feeling, those feelings get deflected by knowing that we have to make it to that factory chimney with that flame, that lighthouse in the dark when the weather's beating around outside and waves are breaking over the rocks and things ain't so good. We've got to be very, very clear what that ultimate flame is for us. And then everything is fine, because we can take so much more frustration and difficulty when we know that very clearly. The people that have succeeded in the past with incredible things against the odds were very determined. And that determination comes from knowing what that flame is so clearly that there's no way you're going to let it be extinguished. And that's how we have to set our minds for 2022 and every year. So there you go, Missy. I'm glad you raised that. I'm sorry you had that frustration, but you are apparently now able to push through the obstacles, and we can see you talking about it every week, which is great, and you're getting on with it. And that's what we all have to do. This ain't easy. No one said it was going to be easy. As John keeps saying, nobody said it was going to be easy, and it's not easy. Anything that we really, really want, we generally have to push for. It's not going to be handed to us on a plate, all nicely done up with bows. We have to push for it. Sometimes we have to go to enormous lengths to set up a whole structure to get what we need and we desire and we dream of. It doesn't just happen. The system is against us. The rules are against us. The bank is against us. The financial conditions are against us. Whatever it is, there's always something that's against us. Always. The admin, the bureaucracy, the web designer, the technician, the computer, the software. There is a whole and endless list, and there always will be. But that doesn't matter to someone who has a very clear purpose. One of my favorite quotes, Napoleon Bonaparte said, "I see only my objectives. The obstacles must give way." And that's how clear he was. There is absolutely no way those obstacles existed. He just said, how, not will I get over them? How am I going to get over these obstacles? Because I can see my objective. He didn't have any other language for this. And that's how rigid we have to be in our minds with ourselves about having only one kind of language for this. It's how and when, not if and maybe. It's how and when are we going to do it. So you've raised a whole train of thought there, Missy, which I'm very grateful for. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to add anything today, but quite a short session, but then we're all suffering from Christmas fatigue probably and building up to the new year and those Magnums, Jeroboams or Nebuchadnezzars of champagne that we're going to attack. So we'll see what state we're all in after the new year. There are sessions as normal tomorrow, and there's a session tonight with Ivier. Ivier's Corporate Curios, great sessions with Ivier. She's an amazing speaker, an amazing thinker. That's 5 p.m. Eastern Time US, which I think is 10 p.m. UK time at the moment. So if anyone can join Ivier. The 8th note to self at this point, at the end of my talk, is let's just have fun as well. Let's enjoy 2022. This has to be enjoyable. If you're in the right zone, going towards the right flame, you're going to enjoy it, no matter what the frustrations are. And that means your receiver is tuned to the right frequency at last. So let's enjoy 2022, prosper from the fun that we're going to have, because you prosper from fun. It gives you the right vibrations in your mind to succeed. And remember, as Anthony T. Hinks said, there are no dreams beyond building. There are no dreams beyond building. And that is a fact. So I'm going to leave you with those sort of Janet. Janet's put a hand up. Lovely to hear you, Janet.
Hello, hello. My heart was in my throat with your flight and that you would get back safely. Obviously you did, but it's like.
It was a bad moment, Janet. It was a very bad moment, I can tell you. But there you go. The flame got me home. One flame got me home.
But that's the flame that counted.
Exactly right.
Flame.
Exactly right.
All the rest would have been distractions. That was
Absolutely.
the thing. And when you have clarity and passion, and staying alive is a good passion. You can get there. So as you were speaking, I was thinking, well, for me, this is for me, not to make the daily goals too large, not to make them have too much, because then overwhelm is where I have been for a long time, because I'm interested in everything. I want to learn everything. I want to know everything. So I'm not as much, I'm a lot all over the place, which does not help, I know, in terms of what we're doing. But if I have a step that day that I can accomplish, then I can go on to the next step. If I have 5 steps that I want to accomplish, it's going to be very difficult to get there. So I think I will be bringing my steps smaller, but more sure, I guess is what I want to say. And there was something yesterday that I came across, and I just want to share it because I went, yeah, that's true. We talk about how we may not have the whole, or we won't have the whole vision of what we're doing. We won't know until we take action what the next step should be. The next step, even if we have an overall plan, it doesn't necessarily reveal itself all. But there was this thing about when we drive in the dark, we can only see as far as our headlights will show us. It's like with faith that we go on and keep going so that the headlights keep revealing more things, and you continue to drive this way until you get there. So you don't see necessarily the whole path. It gets revealed as we go. And I thought that was really good, because until we get into the middle of something, I used to do wedding stationery for brides. And it seems when you're a bride, you have a to-do list that begets more to-do lists. It's like, okay, you need to choose the flowers, but then you have to look at all these other things about the flowers, and you have to put all this. So there's more and more and more to do in each category, whatever the category is toward your event. There's more and more things that reveal themselves as you get into it. And that's just true for all of our journeys, that these things, we don't have it all together in the beginning, but it's the getting the momentum, getting something going, so that then we can start to see more of the picture and to do, and just to get more clarity. And clarity is just really, really important. So I'm sorry I came late, Adrian. My husband says, don't you have a 9 o'clock? Oh no. but I don't necessarily go by, okay, it's a new year and I'm going to do new things. It's a new day. It's a new opportunity. That I kind of wrote that thing down that I might send to people as little, stickers for their refrigerators. Like, each day new, opportunities abound. Every day is a new day. And I agree with you that that before I go to sleep, what is it that I want to accomplish the next day? What is it I want to do? Because the morning, well, I'm not a morning girl. and these are in the morning for me, these calls, but I'm not going to get clear soon enough. I need to do it when I've worked on what I worked on that day. And okay, now what do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish tomorrow? I really, really agree with that as a way to go through. I'm not like you. I do not hit the ground running. I kind of, wake up and okay. So I have a whole different, but we did speak at one time about finding the time during the day when you have the most, the most energy, the most clarity. And when you know that about yourself, then that's when you can schedule that goal, that thing that you want to accomplish. When you are, you've done your morning exercises, you've done whatever it is that through your day, you know how your food is affecting you, and you know that, okay, these hours are my most powerful hours. And I don't schedule other things that at that time. I schedule what it is that's on my docket for accomplishing that day toward my goals, my business, my whatever. That's when I do it. And so the planning the day before, planning the week, and then re-looking at that day by day through the week. How am I progressing and what am I getting done? Do I need to adjust that at all so that I have my best time and my best doing, and what kinds of things can I accomplish during the hours of my day, that work better. And sleep, yes. I'm starting to go to, no, not always. My goal is to be in bed by 10, because apparently our human growth hormone is strongest between 10 and 12. So if I'm in bed asleep at 10, I'm going to get my biggest jolt of that and not go to bed at 2 when I often do. I'm working on all of those things to better myself, better my habits. But 2021, 2022, yeah, that's fine. But every day is the time to reinvent yourself, to have new resolutions, to have new insights about who you are and how you work and what you're going for. And I find that when I'm doing certain things, it's like drudge. And when I'm doing something I'm passionate about, it just goes so much easier. It's just like, yeah, that's what I want. I can go toward that. I can accomplish this because I'm lit up then. And I think that some of us came in here with, okay, find a product, do a certain thing, and it wasn't something that people had a passion for, a different kind of business. So mine has to go from passion. So that's just. But thank you, Adrian. I always love that. Your insights and your thoughts are always so wonderful. So I thank you for being here. Missed you when you were gone.
That's very kind, Janet. Very kind. Those are fantastic thoughts you've given us, and I'll pick up on a couple of those if I may. But as you say, I talked about a purposeful routine, a designed routine, not a haphazard one. A haphazard one may yield some results, but probably not consistently. We're shoving bits in where we can and hoping for the best rather than planning for success. You have to actually plan to do things, and you have to say, I'm going to plan to do them then. And I gave a talk about this recently. You've got to be very, very specific and say, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it at 10 o'clock. Because even saying, well, I'm going to do it tomorrow doesn't work. You have to be precise enough in your mind to say exactly when you're going to do it. And this has been studied. I gave a talk on it recently. So it's a very precise designed day. that we plan the night before and just check and say, this is my week target, this is what I'm going to do on it tomorrow. And then suddenly things start to happen. So you're absolutely right, Janet. I absolutely agree with that. And you talked also about overwhelm, which I talked about too a few minutes back. It took me back to the call we had last week where we mentioned the Japanese cleanliness advisor, Marie Kondo, who talks about cleaning your house. And we can do the same with our mind. We can actually look at things we want to read, news feeds, ideas, tasks, and say, do I really love this? Do I need it? Am I going to spend my precious time today on that task and idea? Or is there something else I really should be doing on my own dream that matters for me? So I agree with you. If we don't do that, we just get overwhelmed with news feeds, things being thrown at us, bits we'd like to read, entertainment we'd like to see. If we don't purposefully keep time for those planned things that matter to us, they won't be fitted in. And so I agree with that. And then we just get overwhelmed and disheartened. So I agree with that too. And then you talked about faith. And I love the headlamps example, you know, and it struck me, we set out on a journey with our car at night with the headlights on. It would never occur to us for a second that we wouldn't arrive at our destination. We'd never sit there setting out or during the journey, turning to each other and saying, hey, maybe we're not going to make it. Of course we're going to make it. And of course we deserve to make it. And we've taken precautions and we've trained ourselves to drive well and we're ready for the journey. And it would never occur to us that we're not going to make that journey. We have absolute faith that we will get there. And that is so true. So even though, as you say, we can only see as far as the headlights can currently shine, no matter how modern and strong they are, there is a gap between the end of that headlight and the end of the journey. We have to have the faith that we will get there. But we do this every day and we know we're going to get there. So why would we see any differently our journey towards our goal? Of course, we're going to get there. And that's how you have to see things. You'll get there. It may not look quite as you designed it because funny things happen and ideas evolve and thoughts evolve and opportunities evolve. And suddenly we have a slightly different perspective. But believe me, if we're pushing in a direction, good things will happen. And you will maybe seize a different shape of opportunity to the one you'd envisaged. But that doesn't matter because it means it's right for you. Your thinking's changed and you've evolved your plan. That often happens. So as you say, Janet, look through the headlights, but look beyond and have the faith that we'll be connected to the end of our journeys. We sure will be. That's for certain. So I love all of those thoughts, Janet. Thank you so much for sharing those. That's brightened up our call, as Bob and Missy have today as well. And we've had lots of lovely thoughts and lovely conversations before the call too, which I love. So unless anyone else wants to throw in their penny worth, as we'd say in the UK, at this point, we will probably wrap it up. There are a couple more general sessions before the new year. So look at the calendar. A session tonight with Ivier, as I mentioned, at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Corporate Curios, if you can do it. So let's have fun and prosper in 2022. I shall see you all in the new year. Technical Talk, Life and Business Tools in the first week on Wednesday, and then I'll be back to the general session. And we've got all our usual presenters there. We've got Glenn firing away. We've got Emma. We've got everybody else, and Ivier, of course, John. So everyone, John's book club, all the great things that we share together, because it is a journey together. We're not alone in that car. That's the great thing. And Missy alluded to that too. We're not alone. We've got a whole bunch of cars with us and lots of us in each car. So, you know, we're sharing things. And that's when you have a bad day, how you get to the destination. So thank you so much for joining. I've had a great fun on this call. It's fired me up to go and have more British tea, more British mince pies, and get the champagne ready for the new year. So lovely to see you. Thank you so much, everybody. Please take care, and let's hook up on calls in the new year and before. Take care. Goodbye. Bye for now. Goodbye. Bye.